great pleasure to virtually meet you all. I'm Marta Maffia, and I will talk on the behalf of all the authors of this research. As already been said, I will talk about some rhythmical aspects of Italian Parkinsonian speech, and I will present our pilot study on early stage patients. Parkinson disease, I will call it PD, is the second most common neurodegenerative disorders affecting people, especially of the age from 65 to 80. Parkinsonian speech has been extensively described in medical literature as well as in experimental linguistic studies. Patients affected by PD hypokinetic dysarthria present disorders of laryngeal, respiratory, and articulatory function that result in breathy voice or hoarse voice and in reduced loudness. And they also present a variety of deficits at both the segmental and the suprasegmental level of speech. At the segmental level, they can present imprecise vowel articulation and a reduced vowel space area, and imprecise consonantal articulation too. At the suprasegmental level, they present a reduced range, the reduced range of motions due to muscle rigidity seems to have an effect on pitch variability, on speech fluency, with a very hesitant speech in the last phases of the disease, and on speech rate. It has been suggested in literature that the observation of some acoustic parameters variation may provide potentially a sustainable and non-invasive diagnostic tool of course in support of clinical assessment, even in the very early stages of the disease. So in that period in which the neurodegeneration is already started and spread throughout the nervous system, but there are no motor signs, so the pathology is still invisible. Previous researches have been conducted on this topic at the University L'Orientale on mild to severe PD patients. We conducted 2 longitudinal studies on very famous PD voices, Carol Wojtyla and Michael J. Fox, and also a synchronic and multilingual study on Italian, Polish, Mandarin, mild to severe PD speech. And all these researches have shown the effectiveness of 2 acoustic parameters, the percentage of vowel and VtoV, that is the mean interval between 2 consecutive vowel onset points, in the description of rhythmic variation of PD speech when compared to healthy control speech. So now we are at the very beginning of a new phase of this research, and we want to verify the validity of these 2 acoustic parameters, percentage of vowel and VtoV, even for the speech characterization of Italian subjects with early stage PD. In order to reach this objective, this goal, 40 speakers were involved in this research. 200 individuals diagnosed with PD and 20 agent test-matched healthy controls with no history of neurological or speech disorders. All the subjects were Italian-native speakers, so they declared to have Italian as their mother tongue, and at the moment of the data collection, they were all residents in Campania region. We also collected some social linguistic data for all the participants by means of a social linguistic questionnaire. Patients were recruited from an ongoing study enrolling early PD patients at the Movement Disorders Unit of the First Division of Neurology at the University of Campania, Luigi Vanvitelli in Naples. And all the patients regularly underwent motor and non-motor assessments with PD-related scales, validated PD-related scales. And the 20 patients were chosen for being part of this research because they did not present a relevant cognitive impairment, so they were not demented, and they did not present signs of major or minor depression or any other neurological disorder or clinically significant medical condition apart from Parkinson's disease. So we collected a corpus of red speech. Actually, we collected a larger corpus of spontaneous speech and controlled speech also, but we will focus on read speech here. So all the participants were invited to read a very brief expository text of 350 syllables. And the text was constructed to be very simple in terms of syntactic and lexical features, and also in terms of content, because we wanted to avoid reading difficulties due to the non-comprehension of the text, because we thought we could have met also low-educated people, so we didn't know. All the participants were recorded in a silent room of the University Luigi Vanvitelli. The patients were recorded in the occasion of a regular clinical follow-up, and they performed the speech assessment while taking the regular dopaminergic medication. So the entire red corpus was analyzed by means of FRAT, and patient and control samples were segmented into vocalic and consonantal portions. Once extracted all the durations of vocalic and consonantal portion, percentage and vowel, and VtoV, the mean value of VtoV, were obtained using a FRAT script. As you can read, silent and filled pauses were not computed, were not considered, so we don't have data about the speech fluency. Here we have just an example of a spectrogram, as we see it in FRAT. What we did was to identify the vocalic portions, identify the consonantal portions, and here the red line gives us an idea of the VtoV boundaries. Just a few words about the VtoV. VtoV is a perceptual index that we use to calculate speech rate. So it's an alternative method to calculate speech rate that tries to avoid problems related to the definition of syllable boundaries. So the higher the VtoV value of the speaker, the slower is speech rate. Let's have a look at the results, first results of this study. So despite a high variability across the speakers within both groups, as you can see here on the right, on average, consonants are shortened in PD speech as a possible consequence of consonantal weakening, while vowels are significantly longer in PD production than in healthy controlled speech. So in both cases, the difference between the two groups is significant, as you can see from the PD values below. If we have a look at the data organized by group of speakers, we can see that in the PD group, the mean value of the vocalic portion is very similar to the mean value of the consonantal portion. So it means that a VtoV segment or a syllable segment is composed by two very similar parts in terms of duration. One is the vocalic part, and the second portion is the consonantal one. This division in similar parts is not happening in the case of the healthy control group, in which on average consonants are very longer than vowels. So the lengthening of the vocalic portion in PD speech is confirmed by the results obtained in percentage of vowel calculation. So also in this case, the difference between the PD patients and healthy control values is very significant. With regard to VtoV, instead, the two groups of participants present very similar mean values and also the same speech rate variability. So the difference is not, it doesn't exist. In this graph, the percentage of vowel and VtoV values for each speaker are reported. Once again, the figure shows a clear difference between the two groups in the distribution of the values on the percentage of vowel axis. So the difference is centered around the value of 47%, with the PD patients having vowel percentages above it and the control group below it. So the range for the PD speech in terms of percentage of vowel was from 47.8 to 54, while in the healthy control production, the range was from 42 to 47.2. So we can identify two different areas in which the healthy controls and the PD speakers are collocated. So our conclusions. The percentage of vowel is thus confirmed to be the parameter that changes most significantly in the two groups of speakers, and it changes significantly in PD patients even at the disease onset. So this is very important for us. What's happening? So as speech production requires a precise temporal coordination of articulatory movements, the motor impairment, so the dysarthria due to Parkinson, will make it difficult the articulatory passage from the static phase, represented by vowels, to the dynamic phase of consonantal production. So vowel gestures are sustained, can be sustained, and are sustained once they have been started, and this prolonging of the static phase accounts for the greater percentage of vocalic portion in the PD subject with respect to the earthly control, the earthly speakers. So more time is spent on vocalic sound. As for the further future aims, future objective, we have short-term objective and long-term aims of the research. As for the short-term future steps, we want to enlarge, of course, the PD speech corpus. So we are keep on recording. And we will also focus on drug-naive patients, so patients at the first clinical assessment who have never taken their medication, and this can give us the possibility to observe the effect of medication on the percentage of vowel variation. And as in long-term objective, the research project is aimed to develop a user-friendly tool that, given an input voice, automatically can calculate percentage on vowel and VtoV values. And this instrument would be a non-invasive tool capable of detecting or helping to detect the early insurgence of the disease and also to monitor the improvement associated with therapeutic intervention. And it is important owing to the lack of a standard objective test for the diagnosis of Parkinson's disease at the moment. So, on the behalf of all the authors, I would thank Professor Gioacchino Tedeschi and Massimo Pastorino for their support. And of course, I thank you all for your attention, and I hope to listen to your observation and answers to your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Marta. Any questions, please raise your hand. Okay, thank you very much, Marta. We can continue.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. I'm
Yes.
sorry. Hello, Athena.
Yes.
Do you hear me? I would like to ask a question, if possible.
Please do.
Hello, Marta. Do you hear me?
Yes, I do.
Well, you say that pathological speech is correlated with longer vowels. What about stressed, unstressed syllables? Maybe because the vowels usually are some kind of stability islands in the speech process. And have you checked, have you had a look between stress and unstressed syllables, this pathological lengthening effect, where could it be bigger?
Yes, thank you for this observation. I don't have an answer now because we did not observe difference between stressed and unstressed, but it's something we want to do in the future. So in the next step, we will analyze the different kinds of segments and how the duration changes for the different kind of segments in terms of manner of articulation and in terms of also of accent.
Thank you very much. I really enjoyed your talk. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. See you.